Welcome to Uniquely Brilliant, a podcast for creative, quirky, and extraordinary thinkers of all ages and the people who love them. We encourage, inspire, and provide strategies to motivate you to embrace your unique brilliance and realize your potential for success. Hi, I'm Diana Bader, also known as Coach Di. I encourage teens and young adults to become who they are and develop personal success through self-awareness and positivity. You can find me at freshcanvascoaching.com, follow and like the Fresh Canvas Facebook page, or follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Di.
Hello there, I'm Becky Berry. I am a performance coach who helps people level up their lives by smoothing out the relationship between their work lives and their personal lives. You can find my website at beckyberrycoach.com. I'm on Twitter at Becky Berry Coach, and you can find me on my Facebook page, Becky Berry Coach.
Together we are here sharing our thoughts, insights, and experiences from our own uniquely brilliant perspective. All right, today is episode 90, and we're talking about plan a project.
Right. First, episode 90. 10 away from 100s. Holy cow.
I know it.
That
right?
is just like unbelievable to me.
The countdown is on.
Hey, and we love the way you guys are downloading this because we are up, Diana doesn't even know this, we're within 95 of having 3,000 downloads.
Awesome.
Which is not too shabby for 90.
No.
For 90 episodes. So thanks. Share it. We love it when you do that. So we're talking about plan a project in the context of getting things done. The book we talked about last week by David Allen, because it just is it's the logical next step in his process. And one of my favorite things that he says is his definition of a project is an outcome that takes more than one, that you need to take more than one action to get to.
Yeah.
So, we got the 2-minute rule. It takes you 2 minutes to deal with something. You do it right then. But the projects are the things that are past that.
That take more than... Yeah, I've been sitting here thinking about that. Like, there's pretty much there's a lot of things that take
right
more than one step.
Right, exactly. And so if it's 2 steps, if you've got to, like, if you're looking for a doctor and you've got to research the doctor, then you've got to call, make the appointment, that's a project.
Yeah.
So that explains his other comment that, I wrote it down because, I can't remember these things, about 90% of the work we should do on a daily basis is going through our projects and the next steps, and we'll talk about the next steps in a minute. But just like that, like so when you bring up your to-do list and find this doctor is on there, you're doing a project, and the next step is, the first step is find one, and the second one is book an appointment. So it's so true if you think about a project in that context.
Yeah, and it's funny, when I write up my to-do list, a lot of the times I will divide it up between, like, email. So I'm only on email for a certain amount of time, and then I get rid of everything that I had to email or do, and then that's not part of that project is gone.
Yeah.
If I have to make phone calls, then I'll do that all as much as I can in at the same time. And I break it up into, like, little sections like that, so I'm not going back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah, you like to use one platform at a time. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, because that way I don't get disrupted.
See,
as stuff pops up in my email, maybe should I answer that, and then I get off track.
That sounds like a really effective way to do it.
But but this is kind of your thing, because I as I was looking over the notes before we started this today, I was like, I'm kind of a flexible planner.
Well, and that's what he's talking about by saying that it's, anything that's 2 steps, and that what you should constantly be doing is exactly what you do. What you do is natural planning. When we put things off to the last minute and do it, that's not natural. That's not how our brains work. But your planning style is exactly what he's talking about.
Interesting.
Well, because you're flexible.
Yeah. Well.
And you're flexible because you're constantly going, is this working? Is this working? Is this working? Which is a great lead in to the first part.
Yeah.
Of planning a project. Is what's the purpose of this project? Is the purpose of your project to find a new dentist because you need a new dentist? Well, good. That's the purpose. And then you know what you're doing. If the purpose, his point is, and project planners will tell you this, the most important thing in a project is why you're doing it.
Oh,
And to define it at the beginning. But what we really do a lot of times at work, at home, wherever, is it's a reaction. Well,
yeah.
that hot water heater is 20 years old. I've had 4 people come out to look at it. In the next 4 months, I got to replace it sometime. Never on the list, never a project, never a purpose, and your basement floods. And it's like, oh, I know I needed to do that, right? So that's like a really, then it's panic and it's reaction instead of being purposeful and going, yeah, well, I really would like to avoid these things and, get a better price, not have to settle on the plumber who does 24/7, all that stuff. Well, at work, it works the same way where, somebody has an idea. Let's go to this. Let's do this ad campaign. Let's do it this way. Sure, let's do it this way, but no talk about why we're doing it.
Yeah.
Why we're doing it. What is the purpose of this ad campaign? What is the outcome we want for our customers? And so then you get halfway through, and the customer goes, "No, no,
Yeah.
I need this. I want this, or whatever." Or your creative director or whatever. They're like, "What are you doing?" And it's because you didn't start at the beginning. You reacted to an idea. And see, that's still a reaction. It's not a plan.
Yeah.
It's not a plan. It's not a plan until you sit down and do the purpose first.
Yeah, I agree with you because that's definitely been something personally I've worked on is all the things that come at you in a day and being able to plan like you're talking about and setting up some of the priority stuff.
Right.
That's become a very important part of my life is as things are coming at me, okay, do I need to handle this right now?
You said those words to me. I'm not thinking about that right now.
Yeah, a lot of things, people, I picture like somebody with a lightsaber. Oh, here's this and this and this and this.
It's a great visual.
I don't want my day, because if I run my day that way, first of all, exhausted by the end of it.
Right.
And I haven't gotten anything done either.
Well, you're also thinking of the purpose of your planning.
Mm-hmm.
And if the purpose of your planning is to get maximum done, and you got to have a vision of what your day's going to look like. I forget that. I'll just get started. I'll pull up Nosebin and I'll go through my priorities and not go, wait, well, what do I want to get done today? And it's just not as productive. Even with a priority list, it's not as productive.
Yeah, you really have to kind of start your day with a purpose.
Right.
Every day with a purpose. Okay.
Because your day's a project, because it's more than one step.
It definitely is, unless you don't get out of bed.
Right. I think that's true. That's really that's a great point. That's a great point. So when you're doing a project and you're keeping in mind your purpose, that's what you use to go back to go, well, who needs to be included in this conversation? Well, what's the purpose?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So if the purpose is to turn out an ad that your client's going to love, probably have at least one conversation with the client, right? So, how many meetings do I have? Well, what are you trying to do? What does the project look like? What are you trying to do? What's the purpose? What are the tasks? Every bit of the project you hold up to what is the purpose? Is this getting me here? No. Boom, trash. Put it somewhere else. Well, not in that project. It could belong somewhere else.
It's the energy that drives the project, is that purpose. Because if you lose sight of that whole purpose piece, then the energy starts to dwindle and then things kind of fall off to the sides and you start questioning why you're doing what you're doing.
Right, because you didn't figure that out first. Exactly. And your brainstorming is not productive because you don't know why. And it's happening all in an emergency situation as opposed to in a planned thing, which means you didn't get everything out of your head. When you do your purpose and you write down your purpose, you capture your vision, what is it going to look like, then it's outside of your head, so, you're getting more clarity. Like we talked about in the last episode, is the whole point is to create space in your brain so your brain can give you more input.
Well, and if you have a project that requires other people, and that could be as simple as your family, you need to be able to get their input because their vision, their purpose, and all that for the project could be completely different than yours. And in order for a project to succeed, you all got to be on the same page.
Right, exactly. So there's a quote in the book that I really like, because the book is by David Allen, and he's been doing this for a really long time. And I was reading a new edition, which is like from 2015, which I think is like the third edition. So here's what he says. People love to win. If you're not totally clear about the purpose of what you're doing, you have no game to win. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Seriously, right?
Well, and the vision and that just popped in my head is like saying, oh, we're going to have a ball game. And then having somebody come with a basketball and a baseball bat and a football.
And a cricket,
yeah.
And
it's like, what? Oh, everybody had a different vision of what a ball game was.
Right? Exactly. I think that's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody can win.
No.
Nobody can win.
Unless you make up a whole nother game. But then that's going to require a whole new purpose.
Right? Right. Exactly. So after figuring out the purpose, and it goes hand in hand with the purpose, is the vision.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be able to picture it. And that's, that's something I struggle with because while I'm pretty visual, I just have trouble visualizing stuff. So the thing is, our brains are set up to realize our vision.
Mm-hmm.
For example, if you're a teacher, you always notice what kids are doing. No matter where you are, you always notice what kids are doing. If you're a hairstylist, you're always noticing hair. This happened to me when I was a receptionist at a salon. All of a sudden, I got really picky about hair colors. I'd be looking at my girlfriends. I'm like, no, that's like so the wrong hair color. But that's because my brain knew I had a vision of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the filter I was looking at everything through. And I still do. So, you can, to manifest your project, you need to have a vision of what that project is, the outcome is going to be. So, what does it look like to you to complete it for a client? What do I want my client's reaction to be? I'm in the middle of this with my women's career conservatory, the one for people at a higher level jobs. Is how do I want them to feel at the end? And for what I do, my results are more feelings than a thing.
Yeah.
Because my goal is not the job. It's that you have the confidence to go out and get that job.
Mm-hmm.
And to when you get something coming at you from left field, that's not about you, that's about them. And you have a plan, and you have a strategy, and you have an answer. So...
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you with that.
Right.
And the other thing is with visualization is you have to know, like if it's a group thing, that different people are visualizing different stuff and in a different way.
Right.
This summer when I was in Greece, we went to the Minoan archaeological site.
I wondered what you were looking up, Minoa over there, Minoan civilization.
When you started talking about visualization, it popped up in my head because Arthur Evans, who was the British archaeologist, get the words out of my mouth today, who went to Crete and discovered this, in order to keep the project going, had to have funding.
Right.
Well, the people he was getting funding from didn't have a very clear vision. Mm-hmm. So as they were uncovering and weren't able to visualize, so as they were uncovering things and they knew what they were seeing mm-hmm. as archaeologists and how things were laid out, and they were drawing stuff up, it still wasn't enough for a lot of the benefactors.
Yeah.
So they recreated some things.
Oh.
So they could see what it would have looked like.
Oh, that makes sense.
It does, but it doesn't. It created a bit of controversy based on the people that are deep into the archaeology thing because it's not true. Mm-hmm. It's you've messed with it, and he used some materials like he used cement and some things that have done some damage to the site.
Oh, so you're saying he used the pieces to create the thing?
He used some, or he used what based on what they found. They recreated it in cement. So like columns or cement and stuff. So people who were contributing to this site.
Well, you could be a purist, or you can have the money to do the work. I mean, so much of life is like that, right?
Yeah, but that's the thing. You have to know who you're working with,
right,
and what you're doing. So
that's also in retrospect, right?
What
the controversy about what he used, or was that happening at the time?
Some of it was happening at the time because there are. I mean, in that site, to preserve it. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, because that was a long time ago. When was he doing the excavation?
Late 1800s.
See, again, purpose.
Yeah.
Purpose, vision.
So in order, even though, some people can see it your way, not mm-hmm. everybody can, and that's really important, especially when you're dealing with a client. Uh-huh. And when other people that you're trying to satisfy students for the class you're building. You know, that's why it's really important to get other people's input.
Right, right. I think so. I think so. And the visualizing thing is so critical because you really have to visualize it before you can plan it.
Mm-hmm.
We've all heard this, plan with the end in mind. Well, how do you know what the end is unless you've taken the time to visualize it?
Yeah, and that's where a
To
lot
picture
of
it. And I don't use the word visualize. I don't know why I keep saying that. Picture it.
Yeah.
Because when the word picture goes into your brain at a different place than the word visualize does. And I keep forgetting that. I'm like, I'm supposed to be visualizing this. I'm like, no, Becky, you're supposed to be picturing this. And, I learned that as a special ed teacher because there's a lot of science around the difference in those two words.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the other thing you have to remember is, but don't get hung up on the end picture, because the journey to get you there is going to be flexible. And that's what happens. That's where a lot of people get really frustrated is as they're moving along a project. If it's veering off from how they've got it pictured, if they don't reassess in between there, then
that's why that's a key piece is that you reassess.
Mm-hmm.
Where he's saying that 90% of that project is what's the next step. Well, you may have one next step written, but you've got to evaluate if that's still the right next step.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Right? So then the next thing, do you have anything else you want to add before I go to?
Go for it.
Okay, brainstorming's next.
Yeah.
Well,
that's really
all right. You made a great point that sometimes you have to brainstorm to figure out what the purpose is. But this is a different kind of brainstorming. This is a brainstorming that says, I know what my purpose is. I have the vision. I've already done that piece. Now, I'm going to open it up and see what comes to me to figure out the pieces that go. What are the dependencies? What needs to happen? This could be brainstorming in a small project is Google, right? Is Google search where you're searching for stuff and you're searching stuff. In a bigger project, it's how can I get there? How can I manifest my vision? And again, David Allen points out that as you're brainstorming, you need to capture it. And the more you capture, the more room you have more ideas. And he also points out something that just has really gotten, as brainstorming has gotten more press, because it's a big thing with startups and all that stuff. He reminds us that it's quantity, not quality. It's better to have 80 ideas and have 70 of them be horrible than to have 4 ideas that are great as you're brainstorming. Because the point is not to evaluate them. The point is not to judge them. Mm-hmm. The point is if it comes to your brain, you write it down, type it in, whatever it is that you use to capture it, the information.
And then read it out.
Right. But you don't know. That idea you think is really stupid could be really brilliant. Once you've gone through the others and you see, you see relationships and you see different things, you go, oh, that is a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
That is a good idea. I've had that happen where I would be working on something or brainstorming and just writing stuff down, which I don't like to do. I'm writing it down and whatever. And I go, God, that's stupid. But I just keep going, and then I go back and I'm like, oh, but this idea coupled with this idea is brilliant.
Yeah, and that's one of the key things about capturing that is that standing alone or for your immediate need, it may not fit exactly, but as you journey down this road of this project and take a few steps, it's like, oh, hold up, what we were talking about here.
Right.
Oh, that fits really awesome right there.
I agree.
And it wasn't, it's kind of like a lot of brilliant people's ideas, sometimes they're ahead of their time and they don't know what to do with them at the time. But given that space, given new technology, whatever, all of a sudden this idea they had 10 years ago is, cutting edge, but they had it 10 years ago.
Well, and that happens to me all the time, more with strategies than anything else, and people like, that's just crazy. I'm not sure it is, but it works. And then here comes some research, and it says, the brain really does that, my sleeping things for kids with ADD, and then finally there's research to back up, because, my purpose as a coach and as a teacher, where, again, I will say I was a much better coach than I was a teacher, was my purpose is for this person to become realized. And if that's my purpose, every single thing I do is focused through that lens, which caused lots of controversy. then I look at those children and those people from a different point of view. I assume that what they're doing is purposeful.
Mm-hmm.
And not to annoy somebody,
Oh, yeah,
not to be all these labels that we give them. Then I'm like, then I sit back and I brainstorm because I do have a gigantic frame of reference, and I go, so what could it be?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
What could it be? And like the stubbornness of children with ADD and adults with ADD that makes spouses crazy and parents crazy. I'm like, it's not stubbornness. If it's a non-preferred task, the brain stops.
Yes.
It is brain chemistry. It is not willfulness. It is not stubbornness. Well, I'm like, okay.
Well,
And now, I go Google it. I could give you thousands of pages of research and pictures of how the brain works when this happens. And they're like, oh. See, but when I didn't have the pictures, I get a whole lot more junk. I'm like, and they're like, well, how can this be? And I think I've said this before. No 11-year-old wants to stand in front of a class and start crying because they can't do a math problem.
Yeah.
None. On the face of the earth, since time began, has a child ever wanted to be embarrassed in front of a class because their brain, but to be stubborn.
Well, and a lot of this goes through the filter of the person observing.
Hello.
So if you've never experienced this, then you have no freaking idea.
Right.
And you can't judge based on your lens,
Right.
And your experiences. That's a big, huge pet peeve of mine. It's like, you know what? Until you walk in their moccasins, don't argue.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I haven't walked in those moccasins.
No, I mean.
But I don't. In general, I assume good, and that's a big. I don't assume somebody wants to make a scene. I don't assume. I always think there's something underlying. And they go, you're making excuses. I'm like, no, I'm treating them as individual human beings. So anyway, we've gone off on a tangent.
But what this is all about, though, is back to the brainstorming piece, is what you're doing is you're capturing possibilities.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah.
And when you capture all the possibilities from all the people involved, that's when you have, what did you call it? There was something that you said before.
Oh. What did I say? I don't know.
I don't remember either. But
all the ideas.
But that's where you get all these ideas that you have to work with. You're not limiting yourself.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Part of it's the distributed cognition thing, which is that you're capturing it so you have more, and the power of having other people to bounce it off of. Right. I don't even know what I said.
I don't remember either, but and it may have been in our conversation earlier today.
Oh, yeah.
But it
may come back to you. Yeah.
But it's that whole brainstorming piece is about capturing the possibilities, so you have all this stuff to work with as you're working through a project.
Yeah, he calls it anchoring your ideas, so you can have more Post-it notes, mind maps, whatever. Exactly. Well, then the next piece, okay, so you brainstorm. You know your purpose, vision, brainstorm. Now you got to organize all this stuff.
Yeah.
Right? You organize it, you think about the results of that brainstorming, and you think about what are the things I need to do? What are the key pieces? You look at, what are the key processes or the pieces, and then you list all those out or organize them. If you've used Post-it notes or index cards like you and I do, you can put them in categories and whatever you want to do, and then decide what you need to sort it by: components, priorities, the sequence that they need to be done in, and then and only then is where you start to detail it out, only to the level it needs to be done.
Well, yeah, it's like
not everything needs to be. Every piece needs to have 10 pieces.
No, it's like doing a puzzle. I was thinking when we were talking about this earlier too. A lot of people try to build a puzzle, build this piece by taking one piece out of the box at a time and expecting to know where it goes. Because, hey, I've got the pieces, so I'm just going to grab this piece and...
I can't even imagine that.
I know, right? When, in fact, one of the most important things is dumping all the pieces out and sorting them and putting them so you can actually get to that vision.
Right. That's really good. I love that. Write something down about that.
I
might hear something about this in the Stamp of Brilliance in a few minutes. So
I have something about.
just saying, just saying. That's really good. All right, so now you've organized the results of that brainstorming only to the detail you need to, only to the minimum detail. Then you do, and that's not his, that's me. Then you this is the piece everybody forgets. You do your next action. That's your priority list. There will be some projects where you need to do 4 things as a priority. There will be some projects where you do 1, So you figure out what is the next thing I do. I use this in my goal setting program, that Conquer Your Year thing that I do, is goals don't work unless you have the next step. You need to know your purpose. You need to know the outcome. Then then the pieces. So what is the first thing? What is the next thing you're going to do to move you one step closer? And that's what this is too. It could be Googling for the doctors, going back to that one. It could be finding an article about something. For me, like if I'm writing a blog post, finding an article about benefits, because I wrote that blog post on golden handcuffs recently. So whatever that thing is, you just do it, and then it's off your list. That's your priority. Now you go to your next project. Okay, so that was blog post, podcast. So what do I need to do? Oh, I need to fix. I need to format the notes, whatever that you've given me, and then it's off. But actually, one of the steps in my plan is to get the notes. Because they all go, like, you have to have the raw footage of the podcast to do it. So what's the next one thing? And that's what helps you focus on your priorities.
Well, and this even applies at home, because as you're talking about this, I was thinking one of my pet peeves with my kids every once in a while is if you want to go do, I go out to dinner, and you want me to have that time, then you need to take this stuff off my plate. The dishwasher needs to be full or whatever project, but I will give them certain tasks and say, this stuff has to be done so I don't have to do it, so we can all go do something else.
Right.
And when that chain breaks, that project chain breaks, then that's when stuff falls apart. So everybody's got to be committed. Go back to that purpose. This is why we're doing it. Do not forget that.
Right, exactly. And see, that's natural planning, right? Because you had a purpose. The purpose is to go out to dinner, okay? And then the vision is wherever you're going, and then you brainstorm. You did this yourself, what needs to happen, and then, you have the plan and you present it. And if you want to get to this outcome, if you want to win, if you want to win, guys, this has to happen. Brilliant. I think that's just really, really good. So here's another piece of this, taking the next action. For some projects, the next action is an action item. For some projects, the next action is planning some more. Because what might have happened is you could have, gotten to this piece of planning a class, say, for me, planning a group coaching thing. And I realized that I need more to the plan. That, these classes, these 6 classes are critical, but there are these 3 huge components that I need, like workshops, that I need to have more time to do. So now I got to plan those, and that makes me go back and reassess my plan for the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I literally have done this in the last 2 weeks. So how does all that come together? That doesn't feel onerous to me. And I think it's really easy to forget that the next action may be more planning.
One of the things that a lot of people get hung up on with a plan is that it should be linear. And really, it's a little curlicue.
It's a spiral.
Yeah. You're starting here, because every action you take gives you more information about the next piece, and sometimes you need to go back and
that's that reflection. That's that reflection piece, right? Because that's part of the next action.
Because sometimes you have to do something else before the next step can happen.
Right, and he says in his book, and I really like this because I didn't realize that this is what I was doing, but he talks about that 90% of what you do is evaluate that next step. You do that next step, and then you evaluate the next step. And when you're doing that, you're doing as much as you need to do to get that project off your mind for right now. So if what I have on there is to identify the 3 workshops, once I've identified those 3 workshops, boom, that's off my mind. If I've written it down, if I've planned it, if I've done all those pieces, now more inspiration is going to come to me.
Yeah.
Because I'm not getting that all like wound up with what are the subjects of the 3 workshops. So you can set up your focus and priorities by understanding what's the least you can get done to have this project off your mind.
Yeah, exactly.
And I do that. I just didn't know it. I would never have thought of it that way till I read this again today for probably the 6th time and went, oh, yeah.
Well, I think we get kind of hung up on completion, and we have to get this far. We have to do this much more, or whatever it is, instead of like, okay, boom, this is good. This is enough for
right now.
Yeah,
This is what I need for this step,
mm-hmm.
for this next action, and then I'll figure out what the next one is after that.
Yep.
And again, as he talks about in getting things done, and about how to work the system of getting everything out of your head, it is so dependent. Everything is always so dependent on circling back. Look at your priorities. Does it still fit?
Mm-hmm.
Does it still match your purpose? Does it still? Because listen, your purpose rarely ever changes, but the strategies to get there will change. The steps to get there will change. So
it's kind of like the GPS when it's recalculating, or when it's
right.
When it's like saying, "Oh, you now have a faster route if you go this way."
Yeah, exactly. All right, so that was a lot of material there, but I just think it's so important to spend some time thinking about how to put projects together, and that basically everything you do is project, unless it's the 2-minute thing. 2-minute things are not projects,
mm-hmm.
And even if they're multiple steps, like I'm, probably the analogy of looking for the example of looking for a doctor is probably that's a 2-minute thing, so that probably doesn't fit as a project.
It depends what kind of doctor you're looking for,
right? Yeah, you know that one. So, all right, so we're going to stop there. We're going to take a minute, and I think Diana has written down a stamp of brilliance, and we will be right back.
Alrighty, today our stamp of brilliance is our brain wants to plan so it knows what success looks like.
Right.
I couldn't agree more.
That's the whole vision thing. It's outcomes. It's all of that. Our brain wants us to plan so it knows what success looks like to us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. All right, thank you for listening. If you enjoy the podcast, please share it with a friend. Also, take a minute to rate it and leave a review on iTunes. Check out our website at uniquelybrilliant.me. And sign up to have the podcast delivered directly to your inbox. Shoot any thoughts, comments, suggestions to us at uniquelybrilliant.me. You can also reach out to us on our Facebook page, and don't forget to like us.
Hey, if you have a chance, please review our podcast on iTunes. It helps other people find us, and it's really important. We would so appreciate it. All right, that's it. Till next time.